Scottish accent maybe I've ever seen.
Are you being sarcastic right now?
Yeah, the guy's name was Angus. He always wore a kilt.
Yep. Yep, that's us.
And no one could understand him except for the pirate.
I mean, it's stuff like this that has put my people back. I also think it's stuff like this that we market really, really well on things like shortbread tins and such like. So, the double-edged sword.
Yeah. So this is, of course, Duncan and Bo come correct. This iteration is Duncan and Bo / fiction, where we have been head-scratchingly going through the series Slasher, and we have reached a milestone. With the episode we're going to be talking about today.
Oh man, it all came together. It all came together and hit me just right. This right now is maybe egregiously the dumbest episode that they've put out. And I'll be honest with you, I'm having a lot more fun with this season than I did with the previous one.
I think it's measured expectations.
It's kind of at this stage though, I kind of feel a little bit guilty by how easy it is to take the piss out of it. It's like I don't even like the joke. That's that way where like Michael Jordan said that like at his best when he was playing, like it didn't matter where he was standing from, wherever he threw the ball, the hoop appeared in his mind a lot bigger than what it actually was. So he was always making it. That's literally Slasher to me now. I have to put zero thought into what I want to say about it. It just keeps gifting me things. It just keeps saying, "Dear Duncan, look at this silly thing. Talk about this silly thing," and I'm like, "Oh, all right then."
All I have to do is like I'm taking the notes, but it's just like I just need to get the basic plot beats, because as soon as I say something like, and then everybody's leaving while Wren is in a chair playing guitar,
and it's no one's like, reacted to, like no one's
yeah, it's so good. It's so good. We'll get to that in a minute. We got a lot of ground to cover this episode, so we're not going to dilly or dally.
Oh, nice.
So a couple of housekeeping notes, Duncan. I know some people, and I messaged you about this already, but I know some people had been asking, like, hey, where are the early episodes?
Why you would want that, I don't know.
Oh man, that sound quality is not great.
I was recording in a cupboard, like legitimately in a cupboard under a set of stairs. And we'd only known each other a couple of months.
Yeah. This is going back to 2014.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's like May 2014 was the first episode, something like that. We're actually closer to a 10-year anniversary of this show than I'd like to believe.
Yeah, because to put things in perspective, I only started doing podcasts under the stairs 31st of August 2013.
Yeah.
So I would have been podcasting, 6-7 months maybe, tops?
Something like that, yeah.
In fact, less than that if we take into account that we were prepping the show for a good 2 months before we actually did it. So,
it's boy, how times have changed. But yeah, no, it sounds like apparently I'm using like an old dish rag for a microphone. It's just the worst. And so fair warning, but all that being said, I did manage to find the first 4 episodes, which were the ones that were missing. And over the course of the coming week, I'll get all those cleaned up and posted, because in some cases, what I had to do was use the Internet Archive to find the page for the episode. And I couldn't download the file, but I could play the episode. And so I would play the episode and then record it as I played it. And not through a microphone or anything, just, desktop recording, but it was still, I mean, so you're going to get the real shit. Like, what, you can't blame the process of capturing the episodes on how bad the episodes sound, but they're really fun. Like, as I was going back through them, I was like, man, like it was just clear up front that we enjoyed talking about movies,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really fun. It was really fun to go back. So I'm excited about people being able to listen to that stuff again and then complain about the audio, and then I'm gonna be like, I fucking told everybody. Um, so
Dost thou not listen to thy disclaimer?
yeah, dost thou like to live cracklingly?
Crackling.
Not sure. I don't think that's a word. Um, more importantly, Duncan,
Oh dear.
we so that'll be coming soon over on legionpodcasts.com, as well as of course the normal Duncan and Bo come correct feed. And so thanks for kind of goosing me for those of you that were like, hey, you assholes, the first 4 episodes aren't available. What the fuck? And that's because that, again, those were early days, man. I was just uploading those to the site, not a server, and it became a little trickier to find them again. But find them I did. So that's out of the way. Let's get to some movies, good and bad, because you have seen a bunch of movies apparently.
Yeah, I've seen new movies, as in like new titles, as in 2021 titles.
Let's get right to it. Hit me with some 21. Hit me some with some titles that are only viewable by those 21 and over.
Uh, you will be interested, or maybe not, to hear that I went to the cinema, Bo.
Oh, I've done that too.
It was weird, Bo.
Yes, the like here they're still spacing it real weird.
Yeah.
So I ended up, because I have friends with I'm friends with really unorganized people. We ended up getting to the movies late, and the only thing available was the front row. So I watched A Quiet Place 2 like this, and
Oh, no.
but it was still enjoyable. I still had a good time out at the movies. What was your experience?
Well, our cinema was pretty much empty. I went to see the Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yeah.
Maybe the most enjoyable out of the 3, but it's the most ludicrous one out of the 3 by like a country mile. I mean, to the point where that based on a true story thing comes up at the beginning. I'm like, you might as well just say based on the Warrens PR company.
Yeah, that was a big marker for me, where it was like, let's not overstate it, shall we?
Yeah, because there is a part where it's kind of based on a true story, in that someone got convicted of a murder and said he was possessed, and there was a court case, which they held, where the defense put forward that it wasn't insane, he was possessed.
Right, but that was also immediately thrown out. The judge was like, no, we are not entertaining
Well,
that.
yeah, literally, that's not spoiling anything for anyone. The guy was done with manslaughter charges. So, because believe it or not, the judge didn't believe that. But then, right, so that's one aspect. But that's probably the small aspect to the movie, which is the based on the true story. The rest is just fucking nonsense, and kind of glorious nonsense, like in a lot of respects. Yes, they're still pushing the whole God thing pretty hard, and that's what Conjuring movies do. But the whole the whole purpose behind the movie is that this possession is actually done by a Satanist who's got her hands on some old, kind of old timey books on witchcraft, and she's building totems which she's using to conjure a demon. And if she gets so many kills, I don't know, like she levels up.
She gets a free man. Yeah.
So that's the kind of setup, and all that stuff is absolutely fucking nonsense. And there's a couple of scenes, like we came out at the end. It was me, the Baz was there, and my buddy Dave. And Dave likes the Conjuring movies, and I've made my points kind of clear on. I think Conjuring movies are really, really, really good at just ripping off what a whole lot of other movies do and just packaging them into one movie and kind of passing it off as if, it's there, like they're the ones that come up with it. If you watch the first Conjuring movie, it's basically an amalgamation of everything from The Exorcist to the Amityville house, or Amityville horror. The second movie is not a good movie. And then the true story of the second movie is so much more terrifying than the movie they made.
Yeah. It does have that nice kind of centerpiece scene of the girl in the chair out of focus. That's a really cool horror scene. I don't like The Conjuring 2 very much, but I'm willing to concede, like, oh, that's a great scene. I wish that were in a better movie.
Yeah, and then the third one, like I say, is just a lot of nonsense. But like I said, it's entertaining nonsense. Like all that shit where they're trying to track down the Satanist, to me, was kind of like, and it has a couple. The weird thing about it is it has like tonal gags in it as well that don't befit the movie. Like, if you know what I mean, like they do some of this, and they've done it in almost, well, they didn't do it in the first Conjuring movie, but they certainly did it in the second one, where they try and alleviate it by injecting, and it feels like forced humor. Like there's a scene where, like when they first kind of hypothesize the idea of, putting forward the defense with the lawyer of possession, and she's like, I can't do that, and they're like, listen, just come to our house. And then the next scene, we'll introduce you to Annabelle, and then the next scene, she's sitting in the courtroom, pale-faced, like all kind of shaking and shit because she's obviously been terrified.
I did think that was funny, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing to shove in a movie where the kid sitting right beside her has murdered someone by stabbing him 23 times. You know what I mean? It's just, it doesn't all, like, the problem with these movies is I think at times they try and take themselves too seriously, and I think that's my big issue with it. The Warrens, if you do any sort of reading, whether you like them as characters or actors, the actors that play them are brilliant, but whether you like them or not, they are crooks. Like they're proven crooks. They have, like, if you do any reading into them at all, they've got a litany of pretty horrific shit that they've done. Yes, I'm sure they've made people feel a lot better about themselves and whatnot, but they've also at the same time exploited and taken advantage of a lot of people. So I always go in with a bit of a conflict whenever because I know the PR machine's working for these movies. And like I say, the best stuff is the stuff that just doesn't, like, there's no grounding or evidence at all to say that any of that happened remotely. The stuff that did happen is the stuff that is the backseat to the movie. So if that, like I say, what they should do, instead of based on a true story, based on the accounts from the Warrens, like, and then at that point you can go as nutty as you want with it. I'm fine with that.
I totally agree. If it's like from the casebook of Ed and Lorraine Warren,
fine.
Because at that point it's like, well, of course it's bullshit then. As opposed, I think the based on a true story doesn't do anyone any favors, especially when the actual true story is so kind of cut and dry of these two knuckleheads who got drunk and then got in a fight.
Yeah.
And like all this devil made me do it bullshit is like, I'm with you. I think that the movie does a good enough job of distancing itself pretty quickly from what the real case was.
Yeah.
I didn't make it all the way through it because I was watching on HBO. And at a certain point, I was just like, I don't care about any of this. And
you get like the very end of the movie is, and if anyone's watching just now and you've not seen it, please just hit mute for 30 seconds so I can tell Bo that, like, the end of the movie is totally like they literally have like a battle scene underground with this witch.
Yeah.
But it's incredible. Like the end of it is like because she doesn't get her, they destroy the altar. So she doesn't get her last soul. So essentially the demon comes and takes her soul by basically bending her like a pretzel.
Like the kid at the beginning or whatever.
Yeah, like a crippled fucking like pretzel on the ground. And then the Warrens crawl out and then the police arrive. So the police arrive at a scene where there's a dead priest who's had his throat slit. Okay. There's a dead woman who's been snapped and bent like a pretzel.
Right. Kind of one miscalled. Yeah.
Yep, in the basement, and there's a ton of physical evidence that prove that the Warrens were involved with all this, but nothing happens to them. And on the other side of things, this kid's been in prison, and there's a lot of Wardens see him levitate off the ground, scream so loud that all the windows shatter, and nothing happens there. It's just just like either be totally fantastical or grounded. One of the two. Both those stories, those different ways of telling that story can be completely interesting. But when you push it together and pass it off as this happened, all you do is you kind of, like I say, you plant this myth that the Warrens were like I don't know, like the Cape Crusaders of Catholicism, and they really, really weren't. So, but yeah, it's out there. It's definitely like the director did The Curse of La Llorona, and it's definitely 100 times better than that movie, because that movie was a snooze.
I'm the weird holdout for that one, where I'm like, it's not that bad. It's all right.
You're a weird man. It's a boring movie.
All right. So here's the other problem I had with Conjuring 3, which is not the Conjuring 3's problem at all. Although I do like the fact that they just fucking ditched the Conjuring 3. That's what it is. But it's the Conjuring the Devil made me do it, so that they can make like 30 of these and nobody will notice. I know I'd be like, it's like Conjuring 15. What the fuck? I saw Caveat like literally the day before. And I was like, this is a million times better ghost story.
It's Irish, isn't it?
Yeah, it might even be Scottish.
I think it is Irish. I think it's on Shudder at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it hit Shudder recently, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, other than to say I thought it was a much more effective ghost story in terms of stuff that I saw this weekend with somewhat similar subject matter, and also the director of Caveat definitely saw Black Sabbath and was like, you know what's fucking horrifying? That ghost in Black Sabbath. And then just went with it. And it totally works. It's fucking great. Caveat's not an amazing movie. I think it gets a little weighed down by its structure, where it's trying to be a little too clever. But that's a minor complaint compared to the fact that there's some legitimately super creepy shit in Caveat.
I need to check it out.
Yeah.
It's on my list. It was A Quiet Place too.
How was A Quiet Place too?
Yeah.
It was fine. Those are very much popcorn kind of horror movies, and it totally works on that level. There's a whole lot of, why aren't these people just doing X or whatever?
Yeah, you can't think about them. You literally can't think about them, because as soon as you do, it all unravels.
Right, but then when you tell somebody like, A Quiet Place is a really good B movie, because that's kind of what it is. And then people are like, no, A Quiet Place makes me cry. I'm like, that's fine. B movies can make you cry too. But let's just not pretend that this is all high and mighty, like a highfalutin kind of horror movie, like Hereditary or something.
Yeah.
Like, it tries to pretend that it is, but it ain't that. And but it's good. It's really fun. There's some nice tense moments. You just like we were saying, you just can't think about it for 2 seconds, or you're gonna be like, what? Why are they doing this again? Why aren't they just fine? So, but it was a good time. It was a totally good time at the movies.
Nice. I'm hoping to get to see it in the next, because it's just come out in the UK, so maybe not this week, but the week after is the intention to go and check it out. So
I think you will enjoy both Quiet Place 2 and Caveat.
I thought A Quiet Place was fine. I wasn't on this is the best horror movie of the year, which a lot of people were, and that's fine. But yeah, like I say, I when I was watching it, I was kind of thinking, and then by the time I'd come out, I'd picked it apart.
This is better than that. I think it's knowing like, oh, this is going to be kind of dumb. And once you kind of embrace that world, it's better than the first, I would argue.
All right, awesome. I look forward to that. I checked out In the Earth, the new Ben Wheatley.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So
I might watch that today. I think it's available here. No, I haven't seen it yet, but I might watch that today. I got a whole day of nothing but movies in front of me.
Yeah, like once again, Wheatley, and the thing about this is his lockdown movie. You know what I mean? This is his, I've got too much time on my hands. I'll just write up a script, grab a couple of actors, go out in the woods and film a movie. And it's everything that you want from kind of old school Ben Wheatley. It's, you know,
Kill List Ben Wheatley.
Yeah, kind of Kill List, A Field in England,
Mm-hmm.
Ben Wheatley. It leans maybe more into the kind of psychedelia of A Field in England towards the end.
Okay.
But the kind of premise of the movie, the setup essentially is guy shows up to go and work on like some sort of scientific experiment with a doctor he used to work with at an institute. This is all during COVID, so but she's in some remote area in the woods in England, so he has like there's a kind of station that he has to go through first to be decontaminated and all the rest, and then he sets off with a guide and they head off into the woods. It's a 3-day trek to this base of operation that she's working on, and they get less than a day into the woods and shit just starts going like weird, like their shoes go missing, like all this stuff, and then they bump into this guy who seems to maybe be a guy who's living off the land, played by Reece Shearsmith, who's from A Field in England, who's fucking amazing in this, and maybe he is not what they think, and maybe he's a wee bit crazier than they think he is. And yeah, but I can't give you any more detail there, but the premise of the idea all stems back to a painting that they see at the beginning, which is this kind of paganistic painting, which is about essentially like a rune stone and the ability to commune with nature. And that's as far as it is. Oh man, I thought it was great.
All right.
Absolutely great. There's just something still to this day. There's something about Ben Wheatley. Even I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of Rebecca. I thought Rebecca was an okay telling of a story, which is an okay story, if I'm honest. But there is just something about his ability to just make things unsettling. Like, like just small scenes where you're like, I don't like this. There is a visual gag with infected foot and a hatchet, and a scene that plays out far too long. and not long as in I didn't like it, as in like to the point where I was like, oh, just chop his foot off or don't. Just come let's get the scene over with. So yes, I thought it was brilliant. So yeah, if you get a chance, check that out. I know it's available in the States. It's going to be available in the UK in cinemas this month. So I had a screener from when it came out in the States. It's taken me ages to get around to watching it as well. So I don't know why, because like I said before, Wheatley's arguably one of my favorite directors walking the planet right now. But I'm glad that I finally got a chance to check it out, and I will be going to see it at the cinema as well, just to give him some money, because I like to do that where I can. But yeah, it was really good. I thought it was brilliant. Such a simple idea, such a simple premise, but in the hands of Wheatley, it's elevated quite a bit. So
hey, you don't have to be fancy to make a great movie. Some of you know, like we talked about Midnight Run recently, and you know, I mean, that is a movie about a guy taking another guy from one end of the country to the other, and it's
he doesn't like to fly. What the fuck does that mean?
Listen to me. If don't fuck with me on this, or I will kill him and I will leave him in a fucking ditch. One of the great visual jokes is that shake of the head that De Niro gives, like no, you're fine. And the repetition of why aren't you popular with the Chicago police chief? It's that movie is so good. I was talking about that with Gary recently, as a matter of fact, as well.
It's such a good movie. We did a commentary on it. You can go back and check the archives, listeners, and listen to us talk over that movie.
And that audio is way better than the early shows. All right, what else? What other new movies have you seen here?
The other one that's probably worth mentioning, I know we had slightly different opinions of it, is The Empty Man. So that one was recommended to me. Never got a release in the UK. 'Cause it came out. Yeah.
That your show just dropped on that right today.
Yes,
Yeah,
literally,
okay.
I've like dropped this morning, so
Yep.
the day we were recording. Essentially, The Empty Man came out in that kind of, what was it, 4 week period that cinemas were allowed to open before they were closed again. And it was one of the titles that came out, and it was a weird release in that it wasn't pushed at all. The market behind it was terrible, and it's technically like I did a lot of like deep diving to find out, like, because I watched the movie and I was like, why was this movie not bigger than what it was? It's essentially the last movie released by 20th Century Fox before the rebrand from Disney.
Oh wow, that movie got caught in a lot of mess then.
Yeah, so basically, like the story, there's this amazing like hour interview with the director on YouTube talking about the whole experience. But the movie's like 2 hours, 20 minutes long, which like I know for some people can seem quite daunting for a horror movie. Disney did not want to release a 2 hour and 20-minute horror movie, so they made them cut it down to 90 minutes, right? And then they played it, test screened it. But they'd already test screened the original and it had scored not that well, so they chopped it down to 9 minutes, test screened it again. The score was lower than the 2 or 20 minute. Like, audiences didn't like it at all, because I can't imagine how you would chop 50 minutes out of that movie, like, at all. Like,
and have it make any kind of sense, right?
Yeah, that didn't make any sense to me. So I think essentially they were like, just get it out, just release it. So there was no push behind it or anything. My enduring memory was that movie came out in the States for like I say, a couple of weeks, and critically it was shat upon. Like, no one liked it. Audience scores were pretty low. Rotten Tomatoes as a kind of indicator at the time, I think it was like less than 20% critical score, less than 20% audience score. And I mean, I will still check out a movie if the critical score is really low and the audience score is high. Or vice versa, because to me, there's something there that says I should be checking it out. The one that I always go back to is Godzilla King of Monsters, which I think got like something like, it's like 25% critical score, but like 90% audience score. I was like, that, I'm totally going to fucking see that movie. The audience loves it. But I'll do it the other way around, where like a movie like Midsummer, for example, had a ridiculously high critical score but not a great audience score. I'm still like, well, look at that critical score. So but if they're both really low, there's not enough time in the world to watch everything, Bo. So
sure, yeah.
So I just remember
Empty Man
going,
is 63% audience.
Yeah.
Or no, reverse of that. 63% critic, 39% audience.
Yeah, it is now. At the time it came out, it wasn't. It was low when it came out. It was like 10 reviews or something for it when it came out. And it took a bit of pummeling. And so I was like, I'm never going to watch this. And Watson, that I did season 1 of Opera Omnia with, he dropped me a line and said, have you checked out The Empty Man? You should really do that. And I went back to him to say, that movie didn't get a great score. And he come back to me, he was like, that, I think we'd have a really interesting conversation. I was like, cool, I will check it out. I thought it was brilliant. Like, I genuinely thought it was brilliant. It caught me on the back foot by... Here's my thing about this, right? Here's my kind of two-pitched approach to talking about the movie. First thing is, as horror fans, we do nothing but moan that studios are only willing to invest money in remakes or sequels, right? We don't get any great brand new sort of content, like with money behind it. And the budget for Empty Man is a lot of money. It's over 20 million, I think, for that movie, which, for a 2 hour and 20-minute movie, that seems pretty high from a guy who's, I think that's his first movie as well. Like, before that, he did a ton of work for DVD extras on Fincher projects. So if you owned any of the old DVDs for like Seven or Fight Club or whatever, all that really cool interactive like featurette shit was him. It's this guy. That's what he's done. He's never made a movie before. So I think it's based on his script as well. So he got like somehow financed all this money from 20th Century Fox to make original content, a 2 hour and 20-minute horror movie. So a movie like that comes out and people just don't go and fucking see it. Now, granted, it came out during COVID, it was an awkward time and whatnot, but like I say, like I that like, it makes me scratch my head that there's just not a pool of people out there that is like, well, it's not, all we do is moan about these things not happening, and when something comes across, we just don't support it. And that to me, that is why movies like that won't happen again. The other one was like that movie, like A Cure for Wellness, which I actually think those two movies would pair really well together. A Cure for Wellness, like no one went to see that movie. It cost loads of money, looks gorgeous. It's once again over a 2-hour movie. Has a specific visual style and a specific kind of original quality feel to it. No one went to see it. And then the second thing that makes me really want to kind of promote the movie is, to me, it is 100% what The Bye Bye Man should have been.
I absolutely agree with that. I wasn't crazy about Empty Man. I thought it was kind of fine. It was a little long for my taste. I don't know what you would cut out, but I'm of the mind that something, But that said,
it's got like a 25-minute cold open, which the fucking balls on your debut movie to do a 25-minute cold open. I was like, this guy, here.
It's nothing if not ambitious. And yes, and the world should have more movies like this where they're taking chances and doing weird stuff. But to your point, it is exactly what the Bye Bye Man should have been if somebody more talented had been at the helm of the Bye Bye Man.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I like there's a specific level of nihilism in the messaging in that movie, specifically about the philosophy behind it, that really, like, I really gravitated to. And then it just stuck with me. Like days after watching it, I was thinking about more elements in the movie and going, well, actually, that does make sense in relation to, like, it's like the reverse A Quiet Place, and now when A Quiet Place finishes, I'm like, why don't they just live beside the running water?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that makes fucking sense. Like, it's like the reverse of that. So when things were finished and I was trying to pick it apart, and I was like, I mean, you could argue there's maybe a bit of a get out of jail free card being played in An Empty Man, in that anything that you try and overthink can be almost dismissed greatly in that, well, he's a tulpa. It's all perceived the way that it's been written for him. So anything that contextually doesn't make sense post-viewing is just something they've written into the script that he believes happens. Which I am fine with. Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was great.
It's definitely interesting. It's a unique film. I'll throw I'm not gonna get all greedy with my movie selections. I'm just gonna give you one. But
you talked about A Quiet Place.
Yeah, I know. I just like fucking with you. I enjoyed a documentary that I watched recently called David Bowie Finding Fame.
Oh, wow.
And it is a documentary that charts about 5 or 6 years of Bowie's younger years from the time of about like 66 to 72, right up to and including Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. And it's fascinating. It's an interesting profile of a dude who was looking all around him for who he was supposed to be. And having a very quick realization of like, oh, I've just got to do my own shit. And it's kind of warts and all. He was a very opportunistic guy in those years who would form a band just to have the experience of performing a kind of music, and then when it didn't work, he would it wasn't like, we'll get him next time, boys. It was just like, all right, see you later, everybody. I'm gonna go make this other band. Yeah. He just kept going on, and even including when he was kind of performing as Ziggy Stardust. Like, his band found out on stage that they were no longer going to be performing as Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. So, like, Bowie's a genius and all, kind of an asshole. But it does give you a great, again, kind of a great sort of panorama shot of here's where he began. And
Hawks. Right.
All right. Well, I'll get to the bottom of this. Keep going.
Well, like her cat, like, he's forever been talking about the idea of her daughter who survives in that movie taking vengeance on Uma Thurman and doing like a Kill Bill 3, like make that a TV show. You know what I mean? Long form as she she would go through her backstory, her training, and all the rest. Like do that on a Netflix or an Amazon or something. That would be amazing. And the fact that that hasn't come up, because like when you watch stuff by like Nicholas, we've spoken about this before, Nicholas Winding Refn, like I love his stuff in movies, and then we saw that TV show for Amazon and it melted my brain. Because I was like,
it was really good.
Yeah, this is what an auteur can do with long form. It allows them to do, it allows them to be more experimental, avant-garde, and really be themselves. And it was incredible. So, like, you imagine Tarantino doing something like that. Fucking, you'd have to scrape my brains off the wall. So,
yeah, you are correct. Copperhead is Vivica Fox's code name. Interestingly, as I was looking that up, one of the things Vivica Fox said in relation to, hey, there has been talk of continuing the Kill Bill story with her daughter.
Yeah.
She says, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Make it Zendaya. And I was like, oh, that is good.
That's good casting.
Yeah. Good job, Vivica Fox. Way to
out of nowhere. That's you mean like to me. Do that limited run, 8 episodes, like 8 chapters. Go that. Each of them's an hour. You can do it's crazy kung fu. You could do so many homages to whatever he wanted. As basically the daughter is working her way to try and find the bride who's ultimately settled down now, and she starts to realize that someone's getting close, so she has to dig out her old Hattori Hanzo sword and get back to training, but she's got a daughter now, and I mean, make that shit happen.
Yeah.
See if you've got all the money in the world, Amazon, just speak to Quentin Tarantino and make it fucking happen.
I'm sure somebody has approached it, like you said, between Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, HBO, whoever. Disney Plus probably even backed the dump truck of money up to his house and was like, please make anything for our network.
Well, this is the thing as well. If Tarantino does finish on his final movie, that's his final movie. There's absolutely nothing to say that he won't transition to TV. So,
yeah,
which would be interesting.
He's definitely, been in that playground. Like he did like an ER episode, and I think maybe a Law and Order or something.
Did he? CSI, I think.
CSI, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
So, he has dipped his toe into those waters before just for goof. So, Well, now that we have solved those problems, Duncan.
Solved all the problems, well, except one, which is how we make Slasher a good TV show.
So, all right, let's just get into this thing. This is, of course, episode 3 of season 2 of Slasher. It's called Saint Sebastian. Is the name of this one. And let's dive right in. So it begins with, as we mentioned in the upfront, Robin playing Batman, ironically.
Right. Let's just start. I made a statement. I don't know if we had officially went live at that point or not. But what I said is the opening 5 minutes of dialogue in this TV show puts back gay rights about 25, maybe 30 years. It's just written by someone who clearly doesn't understand how gay people speak, at all. They don't refer to themselves in the terms of but even the guy who is parked in the homophobe that appears in this alleyway that we're about to get to does not speak like a homophobic person. It's so wooden. It's so cringy, badly written shit.
So we at least start to get some backstory of Robin and Renee a little bit here. So
yeah, because the first thing because we're getting a 3 years previous, Robin and Renee coming out a club, and I'm like, that right, one of these characters is going to die in this episode, because that's what we do on Slasher, Bo. I don't know if you know that. And up front, if you see a character in a flashback, they're not going to be with us at the end.
That's right. Yeah, not too mysterious, Slasher. You're not so sneaky.
Yeah, freaking. But yeah, they're coming out. Robin's had a hard time basically in some altercation where someone is trying to make his partner jealous by hitting on him. And he, feels a bit used. He's sick of this gay scene, these gay clubs and all the rest. And, he's not having a great night. And then he decides to go for a walk down a dark alleyway.
Right. Worth noting, Renee is lesbian.
Yeah.
And is there with her girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she's when they part ways, she's like, okay, well, we're going to go home. See you later. And he's like, yeah, thanks, lesbian friends. And that takes off down this alley where, as you said, he runs into this homophobic dude who just apparently is out cruising the neighborhood for opportunities to be homophobic.
Literally. And he's like, at first, what I thought the scene was going to be was like a rape scene. I thought that's how they were setting up. This guy is, like taking it out on gay people because he doesn't want to admit himself that he is gay. Which I mean would have been a much better written scene and probably more truer to life than what we actually get here. But what, like,
so
Robin, Robin is gay Batman, right? Because he's not the hero that the city wants, but he's a hero the city needs, apparently.
Well, so this whole conversation the altercation is this guy kind of, starting to push Robin around, and Robin's like, you don't want to do this.
He's literally, swear to me.
And as the guy like shoves him down, he's like, oh yeah. Robin says, it's bad karma. And and the guy is like, hey, look, as many times as I've done this, as many times as I've beaten up some gay guy, where's the karma?
Yeah.
And Robin, of course, says, me, I'm the karma. And
beats the ever-loving shit out of this guy. Like, out of nowhere.
And he ends, and I'm not going to use the word
that's
necessarily.
Once again, just really, like, outdated. Like, I don't think these slurs are... Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm just, like, distanced too far from how the homophobes talk. It's just the whole conversation is... It just feels very tawdry and poorly conceived.
Yes.
But yeah, Robin kicks the shit out of this guy. Basically says, and we'll gloss over some of the language, saying, I hope you tell your friends that a gay guy basically did this to you. Yeah. But then this is the bit that confuses me. It looks like he like crushes this guy's face.
Yeah, he puts his head in between the the door of the truck and the actual open door, and then kicks it closed.
Yeah.
So I think he straight up murders this dude.
Right. So because we then get we get the following day where we'll come back to the clip later on where we have the following day of him basically disposing of his clothes.
Yeah.
Which contain, and I'm like, what?
Yeah. So all right, so that's
murder people. Is that the thing in this show? Just everyone's a murderer, Bo?
I think that's the case. Is that everybody's a guilty party in this episode?
God, no.
So and that's our pre-title sequence.
Yeah. Then the name of our friend. What's his name again? Aaron Martin or whatever it is.
Yes, Aaron.
Yeah, his name comes up, and I'm just like, ugh.
Well done, as always.
Yes, well done. Yes.
So we're back in the present, where Kira and Mark Stroganoff have found the body of Susan from the previous episode.
Yeah,
and then
Susan is what I'm calling her now.
Yeah, and so then Noah, Peter, and Dawn roll up on them, and they're like, holy shit, Susan's dead.
Oh yeah, they come running up the hill, and Mark's like, don't come round, and I think it's Dawn comes around, she's like that, she's got no eyes.
Yeah.
But that's the bit your eyes are fixated on, not the fact that she basically looks like fucking pinhead sex doll. I
Right.
mean, like what we doing here?
Yeah,
And
she's just been mauled.
oh, she's like, yeah, like she's like almost gnarly unrecognizable, right? And then we jumped we jumped to them all in the cabin together now, because that whole you stay in your cabin and don't come out thing, and we'll be over here in our cabin and only bring you food thing didn't really work though.
No. And so Robin's on super high alert because he's definitely in full Batman mode at this point. So one of you kids killed this girl. And
I love the fact that his name is Robin and we're calling him Batman.
Yeah.
It's made my month.
And of course Peter is like, look, we couldn't have done it, number one. We were locked in our cabin the whole time. You did that, remember?
Yeah, you locked us in there and look what happened. Although I love Noah, like Noah was like that. Well, actually, you two went into your room and like, God damn it, Noah, you had one job, shut the fuck up.
Everybody looks at him, shut up, Noah. That is pretty funny. And then
he's like, sorry.
And then Robin is like, how about you tell me a little more about this girl Talvinder?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we don't know anything about her.
Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. And Renee is like, all right, look, we're not getting anywhere. Everybody just go try to get some sleep, and we're all going to go down the mountain in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a moment with Kira, who I think is the secret hero of the show.
I think she might be our final girl.
Yeah.
Although I did then suddenly have a theory about her, which we'll get to.
Okay. My theories have not evolved because the show has not evolved.
Yeah, well, the show hasn't. Like, what I love about this is the show has not evolved at all to the point where the show is actively, like, we said certain things in the previous episode, and it's almost as if Anne Martin's like that. Maybe they'll pick up on this too quick, so we'll just insert a lot of misdirection in this episode that it just makes it so clearly reinforces the point.
Yeah.
You know, but then the other thing was that, like, even characters in here make reference to certain conversations we had in the previous episode, specifically as pertains to Mark Stroganoff having two conversations with two characters that died right after, as if to reinforce this could be a red herring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mark Stroganoff is definitely not the villain.
No.
But Kira catches Jean, of course, our Brimley character, making us another steak. And she's like, why are you eating all that meat here? You know, we're all vegetarians. He's like, look, it's what I do, goddammit. I'm going to eat a steak.
Goddamn pig knuckle, goddammit.
Yeah, that's right. He's making pig knuckles.
Yeah, which he has to quantify as not the knuckle of a pig.
Right,
I'm like, I think everyone, even vegans, understand that. I mean...
I didn't.
Did you not? You actually thought it was physically a pig's... You thought pigs had knuckles to begin with, and that would be a juicy bit of steak to eat?
And dogs can't look up, yes.
Yeah.
I believe lots of things, Duncan.
You do have red on you, Bo. Yeah.
But yeah, and so Robin shows up and kind of creeps up behind Renee and is like, hey, can we talk outside for 5 minutes? A little late in the game to get a voice for him, but, you know, so be it.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it after this episode as well.
Yeah. Spoilers, I'm about to die.
Well, what I love about it is he's like that. I need to speak to you outside in 5 minutes, but make it discreet. And she's like, what? And he's like, that 5 minutes. And she's like, I'm not going outside. And he's like, 5 minutes. Like,
5 minutes.
And we get maybe one of the most puzzling things about this show. That this literally makes zero fucking sense. Like, the whole thing makes zero sense. And we're going to get into it in a second, because their meeting outside is interesting.
Yeah, so we'll double back real quick, but let's put a bow on what's going on with them. So she goes out to meet him in this area where they're like, it's an addition they're putting on or something. It's like a construction area, it almost looks like. which is weird. But anyway, so they go out there, and Robin is just like, guess what I got in this chest? And she's like, I don't know, a body. And he's like, good guess. And he opens it up, and sure enough, there's Talvinder's body that he's got just in a chest. And he's like, no one can find out about this. And
Yeah,
she's like,
and,
what
like,
the fuck are you doing?
well,
with this?
Rennie's the audience here, and she's like, now, why the fuck do you have that body in, in the chest? And then we get his justification for this is to the point. It's not even just head scratching. It just does not make a fucking lick of sense. So basically, he was out foraging, as you do, Bo, with his little book of things to forage, and he comes across a rock pile which he thinks might have some sort of fungus growing on it, which he's trying to find.
Well, I think he's looking for a cave, and the plants are leading him to this cave, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe. And he comes across this rock pile, which clearly looks like a grave. Grave for him, like a missing camp counselor. And he moves the stone away and finds the body. And, you know, is shocked by this. And because he touches the skeleton, he thinks that this will put DNA on it that the police will then track back to him, who, like, he would have to say he found the body and that's why he touched it, but that would make him a suspect. And that's not how that works, because I'm fairly sure he wasn't on that hill 5 years ago. I'm also fairly sure he probably has an alibi. Or if he doesn't, he can prove that he was nowhere near the camp 5 years ago, which means he couldn't have killed her. So even if he finds the body and touches the body, that rules you out as being a suspect.
Right, but his point is not like he can't have the police. Well, all right, so he's got two excuses. One,
yeah, but this it gets even more stupid with the second excuse.
Well,
so.
Of course it does. But so the first reason is like, oh, we're about to close a deal on this property, and I didn't want this body to screw things up that was discovered. Second of all, I don't want the cops digging around in my past because, you know, of me being gay Batman and all.
Yeah.
And he says, like, I should have come to you, but I was scared. I was scared. And she's like, well, what other surprises do you have in store for me? And he's like, nothing. I swear that is the last secret.
She's like, you swear to me, swear to me. But the thing about it is, right, you remove the body from there to close the sale. It doesn't really make sense. You just put the stone over it. 6 months later, you go back out, you move the stone again, and you claim that that's when you found the body. Or even if you move the body out, just put the body back.
Right. Do you think a land surveyor is going to be looking at every rock?
Like Sam Neill from Jurassic Park's going to come out to do like this big archaeological dig. That's not how that works. So it's like the more he mentioned it, and yeah, they're going to dig in the past, right? They're going to dig in your past and find that you were gay Batman. But at the same time, you still weren't on that hill 5 years ago, so you're not a suspect in the death of Talvinder. So you are fine. Yeah. Like, you are clear. You are plain sailing. And it makes zero fucking sense. But on the flip side of this, Talvinder's body was hung up in that first episode from the trees.
Right. Well, clearly somebody knows he hasn't, because this body goes all over the place in this episode.
Yeah, like, this is just like, it's just fucking riddled with plot holes. But like, so this has been out there. So someone knew the body was there. We know who knew the body was there because we know who the killer is.
This body skitters between characters like the antidote from Temple of Doom. All right, so Duncan, let's pivot very quickly away from gay Batman and Renee to Dawn and Judith, and in particular Judith. We'll follow her character for a second. There's a scene where Dawn and Judith are kind of chatting but being super suspicious of one another
because they're going to be roomies,
right? And Judith is like, look, everybody came to this place because they're broken. Shut up, Wren. Everybody came to this place because they're broken. And you just need to be respectful of everybody's space. Yeah. And she's like, I'm going to go brush my teeth.
Yeah.
and then just goes rooting around in Robin's room.
It's just like, well, the thing is, like, but it's not like Robin's room's the next room along. She has to go through like 3 rooms to get to this room. And then she just starts going through drawers and nightstands and all the rest. And eventually lifts his mattress up, finds the gun, is like that, yoink,
Yeah.
my gun. Let me go back to this room now with my teeth unbrushed, but hiding a gun. So like Dawn has the gun.
Yes.
So remember, Dawn has the gun. So our kids have the weapon back. So yay.
Right. So later, Judith is hanging out with Wren in the living room by the fireplace, and he is helping her fold blankets. And
oh, fuck this.
Well,
it's like, honestly,
while they are folding blankets, Mark Stroganoff is kind of looking at him through the kitchen as he's having coffee or whatever, and it's just like, oh boy, this poor crazy woman. Look at her talking to herself in the living room like this.
Well, this is the show clearly understands that maybe it gave away a bit too much on episode number 2. So it is going to double down real hard on Judith doing things and people are observing her doing things, and Wren is there as well, but no character is reacting in such a way to make you potentially think that Wren isn't real. However, Wren isn't real.
There's a like the pinnacle of the ridiculousness of the Wren stuff comes a little bit later.
Oh yeah, like and the bit where he's just talking and people are waiting a couple of seconds and then talking as if they may be responding, but totally aren't.
Yes. That's the most ridiculous.
If we get the montage of Wren not being in all those scenes from a position of like Aaron Martin's made them all refilm those scenes with Wren not in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be so pissed off because it's not clever.
No,
it's really not clever.
Right. For all the people that were like, well, season 2 is a little bit better than season 1. What are you talking about? This season is 8 times dumber than season 1.
Oh God, yeah. This one's fallen off the top of the dumb tree and hit every branch on the way down.
It's quite good. And so Mark Stroganoff is telling all the kids who are in the kitchen not looking at Wren, and he's like, "Oh, it's 3:00, the devil's hour."
Yeah.
And somebody's like, wait, I
Noah,
thought that was
it's Noah
midnight.
again.
Noah.
Dumb fucking Noah that no one likes.
Well, actually, it's midnight. And he's like, I bet you will actually my dick. Actually, it's 3 a.m. Midnight is the witch's hour. 3 a.m. is the darkest hour. Yeah. And also because Jesus died at 3:00 is something that I didn't know.
Well,
before.
This is like he finished his talking and Glenn, like our Brimley characters like that, is like, okay, I'll bite. Why is it called the Devil's Hour? And he's like, well, Jesus died on the cross at 3 p.m.
GMT, so, 3 p.m. GMT.
Yeah. And as a result of that, the devil decided that he would have a party to pervert it 12 hours after, because that's how you invert things. I don't know if you know that, Bob.
Well, that's just evil. I'm surprised that it doesn't have a goatee.
Yeah. But he's like that. So yeah, all the demons, goblins, and stuff like that. This is their time at party at 3 a.m. And I'm like, why are we having this conversation? Man is the most evil creature. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, look fucking around. There's 3 dead people, and none of them died at 3 a.m. Fucking Stroganoff.
And so Mark Stroganoff ends his little tale of the Devil's Hour with, all right, we just all need to trust each other long enough that we can all go to sleep. After I told you this creepy story about how the devil is constantly among us at this very hour. And over in the corner, Wren is like, hey, I'll stay up and keep watch.
He's literally what he does. And no one's like, thanks, Wren. Which is how you prove he's a real character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or like someone even look at his direct, nothing like that. Like, so they buddy up. So Stroganoff and Jean-Luc Picard, they're going to be bunkmates. Yeah. And Glenn and Noah.
All right.
Who I genuinely thought, like, I was like, this is a great team. Like I
Yes.
kind of like it, but like Noah has to go and fuck this in the ass as well later on. Destroys a beautiful
Noah.
friendship, Bo.
God damn it, Noah. So Glenn and Noah are bunking together, and Glenn is like, well, listen, let me give you the lay of the land here. First of all, I got a bladder the size of a pig, God damn it. So I'm going to be up and down all night and hitting the bathroom.
Just like Wilford Brimley.
And yeah. And Noah, rest in power, Wilford Brimley.
Yeah.
Noah, meanwhile, is like, hey, on account of me, being hurt and all, I would really like something to dull the pain, but nobody has any booze or anything around here. And Glenn's like, all right, listen to me, goddammit. I got a little bit of a pharmacy here in this drawer. Now, don't tell another living soul about this, and you can have maybe some ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And so he gives them some painkillers, and then Glenn is like, well, I gotta take a shit. And then
He's I'm crowning here.
I'm prairie dogging. No, I gotta head to the head. Huh? God damn it. And then inside the bathroom, Glenn just kind of bends down and watches Noah through a keyhole as he starts to undress. Or as Noah is starting to undress, and I'm like, oh my god, do we have like a big gay Glenn in this show? Which
once again, I'm fine with.
Well, of course,
the character, but once again, do we have to paint gay characters in this light, Bo, on Slasher? Like after the opening, it's just badly written. Like we've already got the fact that we're inverting things and we're like trying to be clever with what I think Aaron Martin thinks he's trying to be clever with what he's doing, and like socially aware, but he's really, really not. But yeah, Glenn watches him undress through a keyhole, clearly not taking a shit.
No. Well, I'm gonna crank it. It's a.
It's gonna Norman Bates it.
I'm gonna make my penis poop.
Oh, fuck's sake, Bo.
I'm sorry. I almost didn't say it, and I wish I had.
But yeah, he's like, we get that scene, and so like we know that Glenn's already he doesn't exactly play by the rules of the commune, in that he is a big old meat eater, apparently in more ways than one. And he specifically says there's a moratorium here on drugs of any kind. They're just like the meat stuff I get away with, right? Because it's not forced veganism. But the drug thing, absolutely 100% no. So like Noah, you need to know it's like mum's the word and all the rest. So he cannot talk about this at all, the secret stash of drugs. And yeah, we kind of leave that scene there, not really doing anything except maybe giving Glenn a bit of a backstory, maybe.
Yeah, and when you kind of, in a minute, we'll get the full Monty on Glenn, and he becomes a much more sympathetic character, even though I liked him already. But
100%, yeah.
But all right, so let's get back to the adventures of gay Batman and Renee, who are heading out to the ice with this body and this big ass ice drill.
Yeah, like the loudest, biggest ice drill ever, to secretly hide a body in an abandoned wood area right beside a camp where everyone's on edge.
Yes. Yeah, it's good timing. No one's arguing that. And we flash back to 3 years ago, where we get sort of the origin story of the camp, where after Robin murdered this dude.
Yeah, he's put all these bloody murder clothes in a bag, and is going to strategically and carefully place them in a bin out the front.
Yeah, and Renee does my move, which is to yell. Apparently they're neighbors.
Yes.
And Renee is just like, hey man, you want to come over and smoke a joint?
Well, she does. Do you want some tea, some calming tea?
That's right. Yeah,
a cup of calming tea, which turns out to be marijuana.
Yeah, that's like when I tell my buddy, hey, I need to pick up a couple of tickets for this weekend. It's all very sneaky, Duncan. And she's telling him like, hey, we get along so well, we have such a good time. And he's like, yeah. Boy, I sure haven't been murdering anybody or anything, but if I could get out of the city.
He claims to her that his punched eye was an accident with him tripping and falling over in the wee hours of the morning, which she totally doesn't believe, and nor should she, because it's terrible.
And after they, the weed really starts to kick in.
Yeah. This is the most stoner conversation ever. It's the greatest thing ever, because they go from loving where they live to wanting to live completely off the land in a commune.
Yeah, well, and Renee pitches the idea of this camp where she's like, we do it where there's no judgment and everything's decided as a group, and there's no drinking, there's no drugs, there's no judgment.
There's no leader. Yeah.
Right. No weed tea, none of that. We're going to have to put all that behind us. But it would be, a paradise on earth. And Robin is like, yeah, I could get out of the city. That'd be real good right now.
Yeah, he says it while he's looking at the bin containing his murder clothes.
He is a terrible villain, or a terrible criminal. And don't look in that bin. I'm not going to look through your trash. Good, don't do it. Yeah. There's nothing in there for you. There's no kind of incriminating evidence. What? Is there incriminating evidence in that bin? How did you know?
Swear to me. Right. So he's like, so this is the birth of the camp, basically. It came out of a conversation with them high as fuck on Rennie's porch.
With him needing to get out of the city for criminal reasons, and her kind of going along with it, and there's a really
this is the kind of beginning of their relationship, which we now find out is purely a relationship based on convenience. This is a kind of like a more spiritual connection than it is a physical one, because, and these are her words, she loves the vagina and the labia.
Oh my god, it is so.
It's a line in this show from a gay character. A gay female character. I love that vagina and that labia.
We should apologize just for discussing this episode during Pride Month.
Yeah, well, this is this was what was going through the back of my head at the time, as we could not have timed this worsely. Which
I mean, it is truly shocking.
It's some of the worst dialogue.
Yeah,
I've just, you know what? Just speak to some people that are openly gay and just ask them how they speak to their other openly gay friends, and just use that.
You work in the arts. I guarantee you someone on staff is gay.
Yes. Oh God, yeah.
Just run the script past them and be like, does this sound like something that you as a human being would ever say?
Oh, it doesn't. Oh, right. It sounds like, let's change it then. Yeah. That's what you do. It is horrible dialogue, and it's cringy to watch. And that's what I was thinking. Once again, I watched this episode while pinned in the treadmill today.
Yeah.
And this is like, as soon as she said that, my eyes rolled back for a start, and I almost went off the treadmill.
Right. You got to be careful doing that with this show, man. This show will kill you.
It's just like, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, this is so their relationship, as we now know it, is a relationship built on essentially their spiritual connection as two people that have a great relationship in every capacity except physical.
Yes. There's a really cringy line too where he says, I wish I could find something like what we have, only with our parts liking each other or something. And it's just like, oh God, this is just the worst. And so then we cut back to present to try to rid ourselves of this terrible memory. Yeah. And he can't get the drill started. And
he's like swearing like a motherfucker as well. Goddamn motherfucker!
This drill's a piece of shit. And he says, like, this earth is too frozen. I'm not gonna be able to bury a body in this.
And he decides I'm just gonna break up the body in the smaller parts and we'll just scatter them, which once again you could have done. Like this could have been done, like you just shatter the bones, spread them like feed throughout the woods, and that would have been a better idea than hosting the body in a trunk for a year.
I like
in a room right beside them where everyone else lives.
I really like how he says, hey, I've got a great idea. How about we break up this body and bury it around the camp like a scavenger hunt?
Well, I guess like Rennie wants to help and he won't let her help. And as soon as he starts like breaking up the bones, he's like, "Ooh," and this like I was like, "You clearly dug up the
Yeah.
body and put it in a fucking box, yeah." And anyways, but like when he goes to break the second thing, her head comes up like a scene from Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom, and he's like, "Ah!" And he falls back, and I'm like, "You're like one," but like there's a bit here as well where he's talking about they have to hurry up and keep quiet, but he's like that. You need to break up and bury this fucking body, and I'm like, everyone just is happily to scream about death and murder in this giant open space where everyone else can hear you.
I like that Renee finally comes around. As soon as the body starts popping up, she's like, we can't do this. Like, we have to do the right thing. We have to call the police. We have to get this poor girl back to her parents so they know what happened to her, that they can bury her properly and all that.
Yes.
And he's just like, yeah, okay. That sounds like a great idea. I'm really coming around.
Yeah.
And they like come in from outdoors while everybody else is having breakfast, and everybody's like, where the fuck have you two been?
Well, the thing is, like we would assume, Bo, me and you would assume that all the body parts would be put back in the chest.
One would think.
But apparently that's not what Robin does.
They just left. Yeah, they just
we're going to talk about it later, because a hand falls, Talvinder's hand falls into something later on, which like, so either he put in there and the killer, a prankster killer, like took the hand out and put it somewhere else, hoping that someone would open something for the hand to fall out, or he forgot where the rest of the body was and he was just like, I'll just put it in here. One of the two.
Right. Yeah, he was high once more, and I'll put the hand up here. No one will find it. I'll remember where it is.
I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense. But anyway, and I'm sure that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But yeah, like they pass it off as we're out doing our morning stretches, and what I love is like Robin is amped up like fuck. Right? He's like, there's no leaders in here, so you can't ask me where I was.
Right.
And then when she was like, we're out doing yoga, and like John looks like, well, number one, I'm sure that yoga calms you. Why are you so stressed?
Finally,
you know what I mean? Stupid.
It's really bad. And then finally, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna go down the mountain. And Noah, because he's the worst, is like, well, I can't go down the mountain. I've got frostbite, and I can't really.
Literally goes, let me tell you a couple of reasons why that's a bad idea. 1 and 2, and he's pointing at his frostbitten fucking like mummified foot. And I love Paul basically says to him, he's like that's because there was 2 people outside panicking at night, running about the place, not knowing what they were doing. That's why you're like that, Noah, not any other reason. And he's like, listen, what we'll do is we'll split it into 2. One group will take all the strongest people, and we'll go down the hill to Jean's hut and leave from that way. And the rest of you guys, all the weaklings, you can all stay here. And Judith,
we'll totally send someone back for you, number one. I mean, when we get around to it, we're going to be too busy being warm and comfortable.
Yeah, like meanwhile, Wren's in the backs like that. Everyone knows I'm real, right? You can all see me. Yeah, everyone.
Hey, everybody, I'm just over here being real and existing.
Yeah, I'm just existing in this scene. And like Judith's like that. I don't think it's a great idea to send all the strong people, because what happens if there is a killer out there and that killer then comes to pick us off? And then Kira's like that. Well, actually, I know some self-defense, to which Glenn thinks this is hilarious, as he's like once again eating, because that's all Glenn does in the show is eat.
How about you show me a back kick, pretty lady? I'm gonna eat my steak and eggs, goddammit.
But he goes like that. He's like that. He says something along the lines of, that's so retarded or something, and then Noah's like, well, you can't use that word anymore, you fucking retard. And I'm like, oh my god,
it's the worst. Oh, the show is it's edgy, Duncan.
What am I doing? So yeah, so Glenn's gonna go, Paul's gonna go, Dawn's gonna go.
No, it's Peter, not Paul. I know it's Peter, but it's Renee, Dawn, Mark, Glenn, and Peter.
Yeah,
are the
and
5 that are going to go down the mountain.
yeah, but like Don's like, I've got the gun in my bag, and Rennie like speaks to Robin, and Robin's like, listen, take this walkie-talkie with me. It's a piece of shit, but it's got great range. Keep in touch if anything happens. And they all set off wandering. And meanwhile, we have some people left at camp. The people being left at camp are Robin, Kira, Judith, Wren. No one can see the quotation mark for Wren.
Of course, yeah.
And Noah. So this is our two groups. We're splitting them up. Judith goes upstairs and finds a note written by Wren in what can only be described as feminine writing. Like old feminine. This is how my gran would write. Like it's just like really kind of old fashioned. But he just left this letter on her bed, which she takes a read of, which I was running on the treadmill, Bo, so I don't actually know if we grasp what was actually written on the letter.
Yeah, I don't think that I saw any real detail or wasn't paying attention. I mean, it kind of looked like a love letter of some kind.
Maybe. Yeah, that's how I read it, as potentially like a love letter, but she's like, oh, she holds it close to herself. So once again, Wren's real because Wren wrote a letter, Bo.
Yeah. My figment, he wrote me a letter. Dun, 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 dun. Give me a ticket for a snowy camp. And all right, so
but as they're walking out though, Peter says to like they're having a conversation. This is where the line comes up. They're like we need to watch what we're doing, we need to stick together. And Don's like, yeah, well, let's be one of these guys is a fucking killer because it's not us. And that Mark guy spoke to both Andy and Don, not Don, Andy and Susan before they died. So
and they're like, well, and Robin seems kind of sketchy. There's this Glenn dude. Like they kind of mention everybody but Judith.
Well, exactly. Which once again, and I'm like that, come on. But they are having this whole conversation is as writers, let's make sure your attention is completely distracted. You know what they don't mention? They don't mention Wren.
Yeah.
Because Wren isn't real, Bo. So they walked in and Don's like, listen, I've got my gun back. It's in my bag. We are safe, me and you. We're sticking together. But she says, I've got my gun back after that fucking stupid thing you did with handing it away. It's back in my bag. And then the camera pans. And once again, the most useless character in the history of useless characters that are alive and not figments of your imagination on this show is Noah, who we see putting the gun down the front of his trousers.
Yep. So he has the gun now.
Yeah.
And so then we cut to our group out in the wild, hearing something. And again, we believe we are beset by wolves that we can't
afford wolves, so someone has went through the snow scratching it with twigs.
Well, and also we find wolf tracks, so that's almost as good as real wolves. But Dawn realizes, like, when they start talking about this, she realizes, oh shit, I don't have the gun after all.
Yeah.
And but Renee is like, no, we're gonna keep going anyway. So they keep heading down the mountains. And Renee tries to radio Robin.
Yeah.
But can't get an answer.
Yeah, it's already out of range.
Yeah.
So
there's a brief cutaway from their adventure to Noah, who is kind of trying to get some sleep, still uncomfortable because of all his wounds and frostbite.
Noah's talking to himself, which once again, I don't think people do that. Like maybe some people do, but I don't think they have a conversation where I'm just going to lie in this mattress and not think about all the ways Glenn's been abusing it.
Yeah, Noah has an affliction where he has no inner monologue. and just spits it all out. And as he goes to the drawer where he saw Glenn pull out some pills, he discovers some more prescriptions for some dude named Benny Ironsides.
Which is the greatest fucking name ever. That's the name you have in this show, is Benny Ironside. You sound like a badass cop.
Dude, let me give you this is my direct note here. He finds a prescription for Benny Ironsides, which is a metal name.
Yeah, it is.
It's a fantastic name, and you're right. They should have used it for an actual character.
You must think it's a nod to famous Canadian genre actor Michael Ironside.
I would like to believe that is true.
Yes.
And So back to our adventurers going down the mountain, and they make it all the way to Jean's,
Yep.
and
Which was supposed to be 30 clicks away, so... Well, I don't know what a click is, but...
I'm not sure. I'm not in the military.
Like, I thought
it was like 5 miles.
I thought, like, Susan had said that it was going to take them all night to walk.
Yeah.
To get there. Yeah, these clowns made it in a couple hours.
Well, power in numbers and all.
Yep.
And so they find that nothing works because Gene wasn't good about paying his bills.
Didn't pay any of his fucking bills.
Was just a deadbeat.
Which I kind of love. That's probably why he was up there using the sauna and shit like that.
Right, yeah. I don't have any power back at my place. I mean, mind if I take a shower up here and maybe grab some of your food? And do you have $30? I got to get my power turned back on, and also I'm going to take some of this kerosene back with me.
It's so funny because they're trying to work all that, and they're like, Glenn rightly says, well, none of this stuff needs to work. We've got a car out here.
Yes.
Let's jump in and use the car. But the batteries run out, and remember, we were praising Dawn in episode 1 where we were all that when she was like, I'm just going to sit in the car and not help you, like, essentially change a tire or do whatever it was. And we made the call of that's exactly what we want that character to do. She don't know shit about that. Like, so she should sit in the car. It turns out, like, maybe us forcing her to sit in the car, Bo, has caused another problem.
Right. Well, it turns, she drained the battery by looking at the vanity mirror and leaving that light on.
Yeah.
And Glenn is just like, well, God damn it, how are we supposed to get down now?
He says something like, "You're not the brightest, are you?"
Yeah.
So yeah, they can't go. But Glenn at this point, he's like, "Goddamn motherfucking shit!"
Yeah.
It's like banging and then Mark decides to have like a powwow with him along the lines of, "Listen, every time I look at you, I have to try and understand that there's a hidden little boy who's angry and anxious in there, but you have to pull it together, not take your rage out of other characters." To which Glenn basically says, "Speak English to me, Kimo Savvy," which is... Oh, no.
I don't want all your foo-foo psychology talk. How about you give me a steak?
Yeah.
You want me to calm down? Give me some meat.
They're going to walk back up the hill.
All right. Before they make this trip back,
yeah,
we have some doings at the cabin, and it's Robin and Kira talking.
Yep.
While Wren is in the room with them,
playing guitar,
and just kind of shouting out some responses.
Yeah, which they're not reacting to.
Right. This is the scene you talked about where, like, he'll say something and then another character will say something that could be interpreted as a response to him.
Yes.
But also isn't really a response to him.
Yeah, because Robin gets really angry in this scene and, like, storms out, to which Wren says something along the lines of, I don't know why he's so wound up or whatever. And then there's a whole pause of like 5 seconds, to which Kira then speaks to Judith to say, Robin's just under so much pressure just now. He's letting all this stuff get to him and all the rest. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Right. I'm going to go talk to him. Wait here. And so Kira goes to take off after Robin, which leaves Judith and Wren alone.
Yep. So they have a conversation in the kitchen, Bo.
Right.
And he's all kind of saddling up beside her, and like they're not like, and she's smiling and all the rest. And then Robin walks past and looks over and sees essentially Judith talking to herself and smiling, and then about to kiss the air. And then static comes through in the walkie-talkie, which breaks the concentration of Judith and Wren. They both look at Robin. Robin looks awkwardly at them. And we're led to believe, as stupid members of the audience, that he's walked in on a romantic relationship, which I think is also forbidden at this commune.
Yeah, and there's kind of that May December thing as well. Like there's some taboo stuff about their relationship.
Yeah.
But again, it's not. We'll get to the conversation in a minute, but it's
Oh God,
Robin
yeah.
watching this crazy person talk to herself, and then you're right. He's just like, oh fuck, apparently they're back in range,
Mhm.
and we cut outside where Kira's getting some firewood by herself, and this is where she finds the hand in
The
the wood
hand
pile.
drops out.
Yeah,
To which she goes, oh, ah," and she does the right response, which is like screams out. Basically, Robin's there, and Robin tells her that he's like that. Listen, like everything needs to keep calm here. Then Noah comes out, because Noah's useless, and he's like, "Is that a severed fucking, like desiccated hand?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh my god, there's a hand here," and he's like, "That. Listen, it's Talvinder's."
yeah. And then he pulls his gun that he's got.
Well, yeah, because Robin goes on the offensive.
Yeah.
I found the body. You killed her, and he's like, I didn't kill her. And he's like, you better start telling me the truth. Like, gets like really angry. To which Noah says the right thing. He's like, wait a second. I thought you guys were all about tolerance, peace, and love, and all the rest. Yet all you've been to me is abusive, aggressive, and all the rest. And Robin's like, I'll show you fucking aggressive. To which Noah then pulls out the gun, shoots in the air for a warning shot because Robin pushes him. Like right after saying, like, and this is it's so fucking funny. He's like that. Listen, I've taken like he shoots a gun there. He's like, nope, right, Noah, calm down. I've taken a vow of non-aggression and violence, which he said just after he fucking threw him onto the ground, right? And then they struggle for the gun. Robin puts him in a legit chokehold.
It's a complete sleeper hold. It's my god, he's got him on the mat. Oh
God Almighty, that man's got a family and frostbite in his left toe.
Where are the refs? They cannot let this continue.
Well, he puts it, and Kira's like that. You're gonna choke him out, and Robin has got like a 1,000-yard stare. He's just like, like refusing to let go.
I am in a world of shit.
Like so, he's like, swear to me. Lets him go. Right, like lets him go. Gets the gun. Points it at him and basically says, "You will tell me everything about Talvinder." And Noah, to his credit, does the first thing that isn't a dick move. He does the smart move. He's like, "Listen, it was this guy, Owen Gray."
Owen Turnbull is his name.
Right,
Went missing when Talvinder did.
Yep, he was like that. He was obsessed with her.
Yep.
Everyone thought he did it. Even the police thought he did it, but we couldn't find the body to prove it. This is why we've come up here. We've come up here to try and find the body, to put this all to rest. And Robin's like got the gun over. Meanwhile, the rest of them come over the hill. Rennie sees Robin being all aggressive as fuck with a gun in his hand. Going on all this shit again.
And so she takes him inside.
Mm-hmm.
And is trying to like calm him down in their room, and he's just like, "We have to go bury that body. Look, I'm not going down for this. You understand me?" And
once again, that's not what will happen.
Yeah, and he says, "This time I'm not going alone. Sweet Mother Steel is coming with me," and kisses the gun. And anyway, so he's going out to take care of business. And on his way out, Judith stops him and is like, "Hey, I know you kind of saw me earlier, and I feel like there's something we need to talk about."
He's like, not the right time, Judith.
It's, again, the show completely ducking anyone just saying like, "Yeah, you're acting crazy. You were talking to nobody."
Yeah, well, he says it's not the right time. He's like, "How about me, you, and Rennie sit there?" He's like, "No, I want your take on this." And he's like, "Listen, we're all a bit lonely up here. I don't want to say anything that would make anyone embarrassed." Right?
Right. This is, like you said, this is not the right time. Give it a little time. All I need you to do is just try to stay focused, try to stay centered, and we will have time to sit down and talk this through.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the camera pans round to Wren, who's hidden behind a post.
Yeah,
and
looking
also,
angry.
it's not real.
Yeah.
It's not
so
real.
Stupid.
So yeah, but anyway, so he goes out to get the bones to bury the body. He's told Rennie not to come with him, and he's out there. He goes to the chest, and he opens the chest, and guess what? The body's gone.
Yeah,
vanished.
Greatest trick that never ever pulled, Duncan.
Yeah.
Make you
Is it
believe that
3 a.m.?
Telvinder's
Is
body.
it the devil's hour? Like, is he out being a prankster? So like but he hears a noise. He looks around, and the kind of snow plow drill thing hits him in the face, which knocks him over. Then falls. It's fucking so stupid. Falls off the shelving into his gut, penetrating him.
Mm-hmm.
And then the killer comes over, who, by the way, looks like the killer may have the frame of a woman, but we'll get back to that. And he's like, oh no, it hurts, don't do this. And then look, we get like a 3 attempt try here to start the drill, which goes off, basically plows into his stomach as he's screaming bloody murder in the extension room beside the cabin that no one hears.
Yeah, it's, you know, we've talked about it before, but when Slasher decides to get gory, it at least goes for it, and it's a pretty gnarly death. It's
a cool death.
Yeah.
Is like, this to me is a cool death. And we like kind of fade out with Robin screaming, but this is not the end of the episode.
No.
No, like not even a wee bit. Now we are like we've got Peter, we've got Dawn, and we've got Noah having an argument about the fucking gun. And Noah's like, that, of course I took the gun. You went with all the strong people and you left me here. I can't walk. Of course I took the gun. He's like, well, you left me here because you don't like me and you blame me, which is the theme of this. Like every single, what I love about this is every episode thus far, the blame for Talvinder's death has been placed on a character. This time it's Noah's turn. You've got to imagine Noah's dead next episode. Like, at this stage,
he's definitely not making it all the way to the end.
No, he's the logical one to get rid of in the next episode. Plus, I think we're going to get the explanation as to why they blame him for what happened, because this has now been set up. Here, he's like, you blame me, don't you? And they're like, well, kind of. He's like, I fucking knew it. You blame me. I'm going to go up to this room and confront Glenn in a conversation, which is going to make me even more fucking hated. And this scene's great, dude.
Yeah, he busts into Glenn's bedroom and it's just like, hey, sup? I got a couple of questions, like, who the fuck is Benny Ironsides? And Glenn is like, look, you don't know what you're talking about, goddammit. Just drop it. And he's like, no. How about I just go tell everybody else about your little stash of pills and ask them who Benny Ironsides is?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, goddammit, close the door. And then he tells him this tale of woe about
horrific tale that made me feel like the sorriest I've felt for a character ever on Slasher.
Yeah. And so the situation with Glenn is he's got some kind of disease that creates like blood clots in his lungs.
On the lung.
Yeah.
Which is life-threatening. So
right.
That's what these pills are. These pills stop that from happening.
But the name on them is different because they are pills donated to like a compassionate care facility or organization for people who can't afford this life-saving medication. And so they basically take it as a donation, then distribute it to people who need it.
They put actually the name on it as well, so it can't be backtracked.
Exactly. And then Glenn just says, is that enough out of me? You want any more of my life story? The fact that I'm dying and I'm just up here trying to get some peace before I kick off the mortal coil, you son of a bitch.
And then Noah, being an absolute prick, goes, you know what? You almost had me there. That was almost plausible. I almost believed you. And then Glenn switches from, listen, I've tried to be accommodating. We shared some ibuprofen. You know, I peeked at you through the keyhole. Yeah, we peeked at you through the keyhole. I even gave you an extra blanket to look after you. I've been nothing but nice, courteous, and honest with you now. And you bring this shit to me. Like, I'm just telling you now, next time you come at me, you come packing or not at all.
Yeah, and he's right. And he just shoves Noah out of the room and shuts the door on him, completely within his rights to do so.
100%.
As like I said, now that you know that this character is just this dude who is, you know, like probably not long for this earth.
Which is probably why he's eating all that meat.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, right. Just enjoying himself, right? Like,
yes, he's taking himself away from like life's worries. He's got a little drop medication left. He's going to eat what he wants. He's going to live a relaxing life for however long he has left.
Yeah. Anyway, so Peter finds Kira to establish the fact that these are going to be the last two characters left on the show. Where he's like, "Oh, number one, what are you doing in here?" And she's like, "Well, I'm meditating and I'm trying to achieve some peace, and you being in here is not helping with that." And he's like, "Look, how about I make you a promise, number one? No more lies between us, and you let me meditate." And she's like, "Ugh, all right, fine." And that's kind of the whole scene.
Yeah. Basically, like, but he tells her that he's going to tell her the whole truth about the Talvinder thing. Now, here's my theory. Now, this is an out there theory with nothing to back it up at all, or even remotely make sense. Could Kira be the killer?
I don't see the motive. I mean, I'm not ruling it out because this show
I'm thinking Kira is of the same ethnicity as Talvinder and might be Talvinder's sister.
Oh, maybe. But then...
I still think Crazy Judith, but I'm thinking now that they're pushing, like, this episode just made me feel they're pushing that so unsuccessfully that maybe this might be a red herring. My number one is still Judith's the killer, Wren isn't real, but...
So you think they're playing 3D chess where they're like, oh, everyone's going to assume that we're so dumb for hiding this Owen character.
Yeah.
And that no one will... I'll give you the fact that, like, Kira has been such a non-character that you can kind of do anything with her at this point.
She apparently knows self-defense. We're getting bits and bobs, but the fact that they're pushing that as a cat, like I say, my number one theory is still Judith, but I'm saying that if it's not Judith, then maybe Kira.
All right, I'll go with you there. So let's finish this episode with a scene with Glenn cooking again. He's like,
he's gonna cook out some pig knuckles, Bo.
Finish up with some goddamn pig knuckles.
By the way, this looks like he finally chops up some onion. He finally chops up some ginger. I'm like, oh, I like what you're doing, Glenn. You're hitting all the sweet spots for me. You get some salt and pepper on that steak. That steak goes in that griddle. And Rennie comes out, and Rennie's like, you and your meat, you're eating again. And it smells amazing, but and he's like, you come on, just have a little bit, goddamn.
Yeah, it takes a bite, and there's like, cuts one for her, and like gives it to her, and she's like, no. And he's like, well, suit yourself, goddammit. And
it's more for me, so he slaps steak number 2 in that pan.
Yeah, and Rennie notices that this pig knuckle steak has Robin's arm tattoo on it,
which sends her into what can only be described as complete fits of hysteria. And Glenn is not the sharpest knife in the drawer because he looks down and he looks at her, then he looks down, then he kind of looks at her again, and then he kind of realizes, and at that point, that's when he decides to spit the meat out.
Yeah, he's like, what is it? God damn it, she seems upset. Oh, wait. Oh, god damn it, that's Robin.
I'm a goddamn cannibal, goddammit.
Yeah. Now
once I've had a taste of human meat, once I've had tasted human flesh, I cannot deny that it tastes delicious, and I will eat you all.
I'm gonna have to go hide out in a fort somewhere on the wintry plains with a kick-ass score.
Yeah, if Glenn becomes a Wendigo by the end of this season, it'll be the greatest thing that's ever happened.
You're right. Again, it's such a razor's edge between the greatest thing you ever saw and total trash.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really kind of the end of our episode. So there's no flashback this time to something that happened in between or whatever. It's just no. And yeah, so we've lost another character, and like we guessed, that character would be one of the adult commune people. I didn't think Robin would go this quick, actually, to be honest. I think that was like, marginal surprise, but once they set up the opening scene with him, I was like, well, he's going. And then they've went out their way to pretty much make him not a nice character as well, a murderer who's on the run. So he's gone. But yeah, this particular episode tries its goddamn hardest to make Wren a real character, and Wren is not a real character.
Yeah, see, that's why I think that the show's not clever enough to use this as misdirection.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm with you. It was just like the more scenes with Kira, and I was like, maybe Kira's a sister. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
nah,
that's.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
But I think both things could be true, where like Talvinder's sister has come up to solve this mystery,
Yeah.
but is also not the villain.
Yeah, maybe actually.
That I've
I think I think the problem is I think that because I did the same last season because I think I know the answer and it was so easy to work out. I'm now trying to make it more complicated in the journey when I
yeah
should just rely on this is not a very well written show and
yeah
them's the breaks.
yeah I agree. All right, man. That is it. We've got 2 weeks until we hit the next episode of this
The
thing.
halfway mark, Bo.
First, I want to say on the back end of all this, thanks to everyone who has been watching and listening more than ever before as it happens. Thanks for joining us on this incredibly silly adventure. And Duncan, you have an enormous list of things that you were doing at all times. So what's going on around Teapots between now and then?
We are about to kick off. We've just finished doing a Russian roulette franchise retro on the Urban Legend trilogy, and we are swinging into a new one for June, which is the I Know What You Did Last Summer one, which I think Slasher Season 2 owes a lot to. I'm interested to see how many similarities I see going through that, because I've only ever seen the first two of those. I've never saw the third one. So we're doing a bit of that. We'll be back with an Opera Omnia soon, doing Zodiac, which, I mean, how is that just not going to be the best thing ever? So that's on its way. And yeah, summer series is kind of, all the movies have been released now. The years are all worked out. I've got all my hosts ready, and we're now in full prep to start recording that in the next couple of weeks as well, ahead of its very late July, early August release. So yeah, tons of stuff happening. In terms of movies, kind of hoping that I get to see A Quiet Place 2 before we record next. And I believe digitally available in the UK, I can now see that new Saw movie, which I'm in no great rush to see, but I probably will check it out anyway.
I'm on that Regal app where you can see unlimited movies, which really isn't paying off right now because there's only like 3 movies out. But and that's how I saw Quiet Place. But it's a real testament that it would cost me about $2 in a car trip to see Spiral in theaters, and it just hadn't happened.
Yeah, there's a I mentioned it before, that like Saw to me as a series has got diminishing returns. That last kind of soft reboot they did was one of the more dumb movies I've seen in a long time. It's almost slasher dumb in terms of how it's set up. And whilst in principle I love the idea of a kind of spin-off, and I love the fact that Chris Rock's involved with it and Samuel L. Jackson and all the rest, I watched they released the first 7 minutes, and the series is learning nothing. Like, it's still, you know what I mean? It's still just traps and people being tortured. So, seen it 9 times or 8 times or whatever it was. So, I'm with you. It's available digitally over here, which is about the only way I would watch it. So, yeah. I might check it out in the next couple of weeks. If I don't, it might become one of those titles for my 31 of October. So,
yeah, I like. I'll watch In the Earth a little bit later before I watch Spiral. So you asked, what about me? Well, Duncan,
yes.
What about me?
What about Bo?
It's my What About Bob impression. So over at Legion Podcast, a bunch of stuff happening all the time. I would put a focus on the shit I do, which is Pick 6 Movies, which is me and my buddy Chad going through a series of films this season, all about movies that are like Jaws in a season we're calling It's Like Jaws. And we've got the episode on The Swarm about to land. The buzz is big for that one, Duncan. And then of course, Hero Hero Go Show, continuing the look at the One Missed Call series. We're on the back end of that television series right now, and then we'll be doing One Missed Call Final, and then bunches more for that. Also on Legion Podcast, be sure you're subscribing to like the YouTube channel and stuff like that, where you can see this, as well as a bunch of other stuff. We've got like new reviews and lists and stuff coming to the YouTube channel exclusively. And so just all kinds of stuff. Just hop over to the website. You'll see it all there, legionpodcasts.com. And then plenty of stuff that I have nothing to do with that you'll probably like as much or more than this. Although that's tough to imagine. I mean, we do a good show, Duncan. We put up.
I believe you. I never listened to it, so.
Yeah. What's funny is that joke started in like the second episode, I think.
Probably.
I asked you if you knew the name of the show that you were on.
Yes.
And I think since then it's been a running gag, and that's again almost a decade of that running joke.
Listen, if it's not broke, don't fix it, Bo.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir, man. I like it, but also it's amazing, like, to hear the evolution of the show, but also just us, like, you talking about, your young child and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like listening to it was like, oh my God, this is such a snapshot of where.
Yeah, 24 like 2014 when we started winter. Like if we started in the May, winter would be about a month old.
Yeah,
she has just turned. She turned 7.
Yeah,
April passed, and child number 2 is going to be here in September. So,
yeah, it's right. It's one of those things that when at one point when we were talking about like, oh yeah, we're missing some of those early episodes, and I was like, well, but we've got literally hundreds.
Yeah. Oh, there's we did two whole seasons of us just doing the movie competition against each other. And then since then, it has been essentially non-stop with TV and the occasional movie review.
Right.
So yeah,
but
done a lot.
So there was part of me that was always like, well, it's not that big a deal that we don't have the early episodes. Like it stinks, but also, it's not mission critical. And then going back and listening to it, I got so much more of an appreciation from like a listener's point of view. To be like, oh, this is not just for completionists, but also because it is such a snapshot of who we were and where we were in our lives at that point. And I got a lot out of it myself. It was really fun. So look for that coming up on the Duncan and Bo Come Correct feed. You will be getting some old school episodes popping up on the feed, pretending to be new episodes. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So, I'll tell you what, we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the 4th episode of Slasher Season 2. And until then, say goodnight, Duncan.
Until then, say goodnight, Duncan.
Ah, no!
Is that not right? Is that not what I did?